Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sonia Musakutti and today in my video I will be discussing about a very important topic, that is a facial space infection. So since this topic is very huge, I will be discussing only the maxillary spaces today in this video. So before going into the topic, if you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe my channel, and if you find this video useful, please like and share. In order to understand the space infection, we need to go through the definition of facial spaces. So, the definition was given by Shapiro, and he defined the facial spaces as the potential spaces which are present between the layers of fascia. These spaces are normally filled with structures like veins, arteries, glands, lymph nodes, etc. Next, we can go through the classification of facial spaces. The facial spaces can be classified into three types. That is based on the mode of involvement, based on the clinical significance, and based on the anatomy. Anatomically, the facial spaces are of two types, the maxillary spaces and the mandibular spaces. And the classification based on the mode of involvement can be also divided into two types, direct involvement and indirect involvement. In direct involvement include primary spaces like maxillary and mandibular spaces, while the indirect involvement include secondary spaces. So now we can go into the detailed description of each spaces one by one. First we will go through the maxillary spaces. The first is the canine space. The etiology of the canine space include infections which are related to the maxillary canine and the first premolar, infections from the mesiobuccal root of the first molar. The clinical features of the canine space infection include swelling of the cheek and the upper lip, which is called as the vestibular abscess. Then there is obliteration of the nasolabial fold, there is drooping of the angle of the mouth, and there is edema of the lower eyelid. There is marked periorbital edema, redness and marked tenderness of the facial tissues, and the offending tooth becomes mobile and is tender on percussion. An important point under every space infections is its boundaries. It is important to study and understand the boundaries of each spaces. So, in the case of canine space, there are 5 boundaries: superior, inferior, anterior, posterior, and medial. There is only one bony boundary around this canine space, that is on its medial side. On medial side, the canine space is bounded by the anterolateral surface of the maxilla, while the other sides, which include the superior, inferior, anterior and posterior, are all bounded by the muscles. So, superiorly, the canine space is bounded by the levator labii superioris alegnasi and levator labii superioris muscle and zygomaticus minimicis. Inferiorly, it is bounded by the caninus muscle, anteriorly by the orbicularis oris, and posteriorly by the buccinator muscle. The management to any of the space infections mainly include incision and drainage with antibiotic coverage. So, the management of canine space infection also include incision and drainage. The approach to this area is through the mucosa of the buccal vestibule in area of lateral incisor and canine. A curved mosquito forceps is inserted superior to the attachment of caninus muscle and the canine space is entered. The pus is evacuated and the drain is placed. The next important space infection is the buccal space involvement. Buccal space is a potential space between the buccinator and the masseter muscle. Infection of the maxillary and mandibular premolar and molars can cause buccal space infection. The clinical features include when the pus accumulates in the oral side of the muscle, a gum boil is seen in the vestibule. But when this pus accumulates lateral to the muscle, then it is seen as a prominent extraoral swelling. And if this extraoral swelling is present, it is presented as a swelling of the cheek to the corner of the mouth. When the buccal space infection is associated with temporal space, then a characteristic appearance of dumbbell is seen due to the lack of swelling over the zygomatic arch. The boundaries of the buccal space include superior, inferior, posterior, anterior, lateral and medial. The superiorly, the buccal space is bounded by the zygomatic arch. inferiorly by the inferior border of mandible. Posteriorly, it is bounded by the anterior edge of the mesenteric muscle, and anteriorly, it is bounded by the posterior border of the zygomaticus major and depressor anguli oris. Laterally, it is bounded by the skin and the subcutaneous tissue, and medially by the buccinator muscle and buccopharyngeal fascia. The contents of the buccal space include buccal pad of fat, Stenson's duct, and facial artery. Next primary space of maxilla is the infratemporal space. It is also called the retrozygomatic space, and it is partly situated behind the zygomatic bone. The etiology of the infratemporal space infection include infection of the buccal roots of the maxillary second and third molars, local anesthesia injections with contaminated needles in the area of tuberosity, and the spread from the other spaces infection. The clinical features of the infratemporal space infection include extraoral and intraoral findings. The extraoral findings include the trismus, bulging of the temporalis muscle, swelling of the face on the front of the ear on the affected side, and the eye is often closed and is proptosed. The intraoral findings include swelling in the tuberosity area and elevation of the body temperature up to 104 degree Fahrenheit. Now we can discuss about the boundaries of the infratemporal space. The boundaries include superior boundary, inferior boundary, anterior, posterior, lateral, and medial. Superiorly, the infratemporal space is bounded by infratemporal surface of the greater wing of sphenoid. Inferiorly, it is bounded by the lateral pterygoid muscle. Anteriorly, it is bounded by the infratemporal surface of maxilla. Posteriorly, by the condyle and lateral pterygoid muscle. Laterally, by the temporalis tendon and coronoid process. Medially, by the lateral pterygoid plate and lateral pharyngeal wall. The contents of the infratemporal space include pterygoid plexus of veins, internal maxillary artery, and mandibular nerves and branches. The management of the infratemporal space infection is similar to any other space infections, which include incision and drainage. The incision and drainage is having two approaches, an intraoral approach and an extraoral approach. If the patient is not having any trismus and the fluctuation is detected early, an intraoral incision is given in the buccal vestibule opposite the second and third molars. In severe intractable infection, extraoral incision is the only method of drainage. Incision is made at the upper and posterior edge of the temporalis muscle within the hairline. A sinus forceps is then directed upwards and medially, and the pus is evacuated. So that comes to an end of the primary maxillary space infections. Check out my next video for the mandibular space infections. Thank you.